Hey everybody, I know I'm a little bit late today, so thank you guys for already waiting and everything. Of course, it goes to, I can't even talk now, I'm so flustered. But as I was getting everything ready, of course, then they were like, oh, let me show you this demo. Oh, let's go take class photos. So here we are anyway. But I am at GRS, it's in Emporia, Kansas this week, and it's been kind of fun. Actually, it's been really amazing. Last week I did the basic stone setting class with Ron Finch, and it was unreal, like the stuff that we went over, and it was so fast paced. This week is not fast paced, but there is so much to do. So I figure what I'll do is I will just show you really quick some of the classroom, the setup, and show you guys a little bit of what we're doing. I did not bring any of my stone setting stuff. However, there's going to be a whole other video once I get done with kind of a recap of the last 2 weeks that I've done. So let me turn you around and show you guys kind of, this is my area, because you guys know me, I don't work clean. And look how clean some of these people are. That would not be me. This would be me. So a couple different things that are new for me is that we are working with a microscope. In this case, we're working with a Leica A60. However, they do also have a Meiji that's available. So some people like the Meiji a little better, some like the Leica. The Leica has a little better field of view or depth of field. So I'm able to stay in focus a little bit more depending on where my piece is. But I will tell you, working in a microscope is very different if you're not used to it. So to give you an idea, this is what I'm working on right now. So I've just carved in the whole flower, and now I'm working on the shading. And I'm doing that before I start shading on my other pieces that we've been working on. So as you can see, we jump right into doing some of this. Now, the setup that we're using is pretty much their top of the line. Of course, they want to do that because that's how you get suckered into buying everything, right? So we have a Graver Mach AT. This is the AirTac system. Now, what the AirTac system allows you to do, let me switch this over to the hand control really fast. Oh, I've got my system off. There we go. So what this allows you to do is actually run the graver by using your hand instead of using a foot pedal. So you have the foot pedal option as well. And then it's really, really easy to swap between the two. So I can either do it by hand or I can do it by foot, and it just kind of depends on what I want to do. And you'll see here that we've got 2 sets of cords. And what this is, it actually allows me to have 2 different hand pieces set up at the same time. And again, I can do either foot or hand on that. Let's see if I can put this back. They have everything all kind of set up right here. The other thing that it's been really interesting to learn is the Graver Sharpening system. So they have a couple of different systems here. They have where you can do kind of a preset. Hey, Rosadelle, welcome. Glad you guys could join me. So they have where you can do a preset angle, and then you've got all these different grits, whether you need to start with a blank graver and actually reshape the entire thing, or they have other fixtures where you can go ahead and, again, these are kind of preset to a point. Like it shows you where you need to set things, and that makes it a little bit more helpful. And then they also have a fixture where you can basically set whatever angle you want. So we spend quite a bit of time going through all of that, seeing how to sharpen the different gravers. One of the things that's pretty cool is when you come into a class, and this is all from last week's class. When you come in for a class, they give you, not the little case, I went over to the local Walmart and picked that up, but they give you all the gravers that you're going to need and the different tools and the materials. So I actually have another little bin at home, or back at the hotel rather, that has all my materials from last week. So last week we did a lot of ring settings, and you guys probably saw some of my videos. This week they gave us a whole bunch of plates that we're going to use, including some that already have our pattern engraved on this. I know that looks backwards, but so anyway, so that's kind of what we have here. And it's nice because you can go through and just start practicing. So for instance, like there's one practice piece, there's one. And so we learn about how to put the pattern onto our piece as well. And then we jump right in. We go through the material or the tools. So not only do you learn how to use the gravers, but then you also learn how to use the equipment as well. They have their own micromotor here. And I will tell you guys what, if you ever get a chance to use their micromotor and you're struggling with it, this little piece right here comes out. It is so heavy and it adds a lot of length to this. And for me, it made it awkward. And what that is, it's a reducer. And that reducer makes it so that it can control the speed a little bit more. Otherwise, they go very, very fast. And a lot of times people have kind of a hard time with that, which is why even on my flex shafts at home, I have that tabletop controller, and that is to help control that speed, make it so that you don't go too fast. But for me, it was a hindrance, and it made it very difficult, especially when I was doing some of the fine work on that stone setting. So I took that piece out, and all of a sudden it just became a regular micromotor, and it was much easier to use. So a lot of the tools and stuff like that here are adjustable, and they can change it to whatever you need. For instance, we actually have two or three people that are left-handed in here, and it's a very easy modification to just kind of turn things around and set it up for left-handed people. So I know that that makes that kind of handy for a lot of the people. Really quick, let me show you what our classroom looks like. So there are two classrooms here, and this is what it looks like. So everybody has a full setup, okay? And they can hold 12 students in here. Sorry, trying to go slow. I know that the computer's lagging on that a little bit. So you've got 12 students, and then you also have the teacher setup. That's my view, is that back lovely setup. But when you cannot see because of that, and we're working so small, they actually have two large screen televisions. So it's really easy to see kind of what's going on. There's our notes, and what you're seeing right there with that 80 and 90 degree, those are measurements for grinding our angles on our hand pieces. Not our hand pieces, our gravers. So another thing, they do have some fabrication set up. Now, if you can see back behind this window, let me show you something fun that is happening and going on. So you see all this? Those are the new classrooms. So they are going to have engraving classrooms, and they are also going to have a fabrication classroom. So they have right here the fabrication setup, but all of this will eventually have its own house. So there's a lot of fun things that they have coming up with that. I believe that their new schedule comes out, I want to say December 5th. And people have been asking, you know, is it expensive? Let me tell you guys, this is definitely not inexpensive. But the caliber of the instructors that they've brought in here, the caliber of the class, I mean, I just showed you guys what our setup is. I didn't bring anything. I didn't bring anything at all to Kansas with me. I didn't bring any tools. I didn't bring any materials, nothing. Everything is provided. And so all you have to do is show up, which is really nice considering that you have to fly into either Kansas City or Wichita, and both ways you have about an hour and a half to 2-hour drive. So it's kind of nice that I can just show up, get it to work, and jump right in. And it is like taking in information from a fire hydrant. So it's a lot, but I will tell you, I'm walking away with some really good notes, and I'm very excited. I'm not going home with anything perfected at all. This is definitely going to be a hard-won skill, meaning that if you want to do this, it's going to definitely take some practice. And I have to admit that for me, that was a little bit difficult kind of because I'm used to having jewelry stuff come easy to me. And last week was definitely a struggle with the stone setting class. This week is not so bad. I think that it helped to have a little bit of braver experience last week. And so I picked up a few things a little easier. However, the only way to even really get good at this is to practice, practice, practice. So I'm hoping that as soon as I get home, I'm going to do my best to set aside maybe about an hour a day where I can just sit and practice this. They can give you guidance, they can give you kind of the directions of what to do, but it's all muscle memory and it's all just practice. And if you've never sat at a microscope and worked all day long, let me tell you, that's a different experience. But anyway, so it's lunchtime. We just kicked everybody else out of the classroom really fast so I could come on. But I figured I would at least show you guys kind of what setup they have here. And if you guys are ever thinking about taking a class here at GRS, I cannot suggest it highly enough. I have loved my experience here, and I'm really hoping I can save up some money and do some more classes. But first, I have to come up with my money for extra tools. Of course, I thought that I had a pretty good setup, which I do at home, but do I have all of it? No, I do not. And I will be ordering my microscope. I did wait on a microscope because that one, when I was out here before in June, we only had just 30 minutes or so to play when I was out here before. And so I didn't really have a whole long time, and I had a hard time getting that Leica to work for me. And so I did not buy the microscope because I wanted to come at least, yes, more toys. Because you know you can never have enough toys, Sue Ellen. But you want to buy the right toys. And that's the thing too. And so the other thing that's in this as well is that this is not inexpensive. The setup is quite expensive. I drained my bank account and I have to borrow money from my husband. That's how bad it was. Not that I had a whole ton in my bank account to begin with, but it's definitely not inexpensive. However, their tools really are good. And I will do my best to show you guys which tools you really need and if there are tools that maybe you can wait on. Because I think that there's quite a bit that you can do without having to need every little thing. But there will be certain big ones that are necessary, and we'll talk about that when I get home and I've got my setup complete, and I'll do some videos there that kind of shows how much or how it's all set up. As far as how much the classes are, they range from about 900, maybe there's some I think about 800, 850, something like that, all the way up to a couple thousand. It just depends on what you're doing. I believe last week's class, the stone setting class, might have been pretty close to 1,000, and then this one I think is closer to 800. So it's definitely an investment, but you guys, I never get to make the investment in me, and this has been wonderful. This is all about me the last 2 weeks, and finally sitting down and doing nothing but learning some new skills for me. And I'm very excited about that, and it has been wonderful. And like I said, the atmosphere could not be better. The sales staff is wonderful. The teachers are wonderful. The students have been great. We've had such fun times with all of just with each other. So it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I can't talk. It's lunchtime. I can't suggest it highly enough. So you guys, thank you for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and go grab some lunch before we have to get back in here and get back to work. But I'll tell you too, man, these days, they're long, and well, they seem like they're long, but man, they go by fast. They go by really fast, and we are learning a lot. And I am excited to show you guys what I've done when I get back. I've been doing little videos every night. So I'll compile all of that and show you guys what we've been doing. So Joshua, what would you say the most interesting thing I learned was? Right now, well, as far as this week, it's all about graver control. So it's all about trying to get my lines the same and the curves and working under a microscope. And now I feel like every time I look up and I start to do normal things, I want to zoom in on everything, and I can't zoom in on anything. I'm feeling blind. But I would say this week is definitely all about graver control. Last week, all the different settings, I think one of my favorite settings One of the things I've always wanted to do is flush setting, and for whatever reason, flush setting just has never worked for me until last week. Last week, I finally got it, and I think working with the microscope really helps because you can actually see if your metal moved or not, or if you're in the right place and whatnot. So just thank you. I'm so glad that you like the posts and stuff. So last week, channel setting. Channel setting was probably the most interesting one that I really enjoyed for last week. So this week is graver control. Last week is the channel setting. Can I teach you? No. Nope, I cannot. Not anytime soon. This definitely will be a skill, like I said, that is hard won. And there is no way in this world that I would ever consider myself even qualified enough without at least another year's worth of experience. There's too much to learn for me at this point in time. Like I'm not even cutting straight, even lines yet. Well, the lines are straight, but they're not even. And so without me actually having developed my own, my own skill on this and becoming comfortable with it, I definitely am not ready to teach this. So hopefully within another year or so, then maybe we'll look at some of that. But at this point in time, come here and take it because they already have the professionals in the setup. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And I will be back next week. And then hopefully we're going to have a lot of videos. I actually have a couple different things in the works. So stay tuned and I will talk with you guys all soon. Thanks for joining me, guys.